Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. It's Mike and Paul, and today we're going to talk about, we get this question all the time, how to buy houses at online auctions. Now, before we kind of jump into this video, I'm going to remind you to look below and hit the subscribe button. So we do about two videos a week, so you guys will be notified every time we have a new video. So now let's go back to today's video on how to buy houses at online auctions. Paul, can you cover what step one is?
Sure, absolutely. So this is creating an account. This is going to be the easiest part for you guys to do. So log into auction.com or Zone. You got Hubzu, Hudson and Marshall. Do it for all of them, right? RealtyBid. We got the HUD Home Store. Actually, on that one, you don't need to, but the Auction Network and RealtyBid, you will need to. Basically, when you go in there, you create an account, put your business entity or your personal name, if you're going to be using your personal name at first. You're going to put all your information in there. Then when you go to bid on these properties, you need that account. That account's what you're going to do. You're going to log in, and when you go to bid, they can track you. And then you're going to need to put a credit card in there when you bid on the auction, because they're going to put a hold on it. Unless you become a student of ours, and there's a couple of auction houses that we can get you VIP access to without that hold. But that's step one. And now step two, we'll get into determining the market, and I'll kick it back to you, Mike.
Yeah. So step two in our 7-step process today is determining markets. And, Paul just mentioned a bunch of auction sites you go to. Like you said, pick one. And then from there, you could go to all 50 states. We bought in 44. Or I'd recommend you just stick with your own personal state. Or if you're in a state like California where prices don't make sense, pick a market that you want to go out of state in. So just keep it simple, get comfortable with the auction site, pick one state. And then from there, determine what, your price range is and what type of houses you want to buy. Do you want to buy like 3 bedrooms up, 2 bedrooms up? And there's a lot of filtering criterias. Do you want to only make offers on vacant properties or occupied properties? So go through all the filtering, and, you might not want to. Also, another good filter is, certain price points. You don't want to buy houses over 300,000 or 200,000. So there's tons of criteria on all these auction sites to determine the market and type of property you want to buy. So that's step two of the process. Step three, Paul?
Yep, and that one you're going to lead into the inputting into the spreadsheet. So once you decide if you want to hit 50,000 as your price point, 100,000, 150,000. So you're going to go through all these different auctions that are upcoming, take those properties and put them into your spreadsheet. We use a basic Excel spreadsheet. Maybe we'll link it here for you and you guys can utilize that. It's pretty basic. It gives your address, the auction house, the dates, the property information, the listing agent, if there is a listing agent, and all those details that you want to put in there. That way you'll know when the auction's going to be, and you can put it on your calendar and then be reminded and then be ready to hop into the auction. And next, that'll take us to analyzing the properties. I'll kick it back to Mike here.
Yep. Thanks, Paul. And then, so step 4 is analyzing properties. So, you're on an auction site, you picked a state, now you got in your spreadsheet or Google Sheet, the address, property information. How do I know what my maximum bid is going to be? Right. So there's tons of free information out there. The best is don't use Zestimates from Zillow, but use, solds from Zillow. That's pretty credible data. Or if it's in your local market, use your MLS. And there's tons of other sites out there like Redfin, RealtyTrack, et cetera. And there's some paid for services out there as well that give you pretty good comps. So, depending on how many properties you're going to look at, you might want to do a full blown analysis on each one. If there's only a few properties, that way you determine a really good or a maximum allowable offer to bid on. Or if you're looking at hundreds of properties, you might want to use like a Zestimate or something like that to filter out the properties first as a basic after repair value. And for the most part, you could look at it from the basic formula perspective. What's the active repair value times like a 0.65, 0.7 and minus repair cost. We use rules of thumb, square footage, anywhere from $10 to $30 a square foot, depending on type of renovations needed. And then from there, it's just formulaic driven. You can kind of determine what a maximum bid amount is. And if that number is less than what the current bid is, why don't you look a little more into that property?
Yes. And
that way you can actually determine like a proper after repair value and what the proper repair estimate is going to be based on the pictures. And then that's pretty good due diligence from the high level analysis of properties. Next, once you start bidding or after you bid on a property, you probably want to get more information. That leads us to the next step of contacting the listing agent.
Contact the listing agent. And before you contact the listing agent, you want to make sure that property meets all your criteria, right? So that analyzed properties that we have up there, that's going to be it's probably the number one most important thing you're going to look at there. So make sure you get good with those numbers and understand what those numbers are. Then you contact the listing agent, and the listing agent is either going to verify your numbers or tell you, hey, you're way out left field with this ARV. ARV is not 180 in this area, believe it or not. It's only the 155 because there's a bad patch of town or something real close to it, or there's some toxic waste dump, who knows, right? But this is why you call the listing agent, because you need to find out these things. Or maybe there's some structural issue with the property, or God knows what else could be going on with the property. That's why you need to contact the agent. The agent's going to give you the best information far and away, but you're going to have to constantly contact them, right? They don't usually answer on first phone call, text, or email. You got to kind of make a nuisance of yourself and just let them know that you're interested in the property big time and that you'd like them to represent you. If you tell them you want them to represent you, then they're more likely to give you good information because they're getting both sides. So that's super important. So the first thing you would get from them, what is the as-is value? What is the value of the property as it sits right now? Okay, let's say it's $75,000, and then you find out what is the after repair, and if they tell you, well, it's $150 fixed up, but depending on, a lot of times they'll tell you, well, what level of rehab you're going to do on it, and say, just assume a full-scale rehab. I'm doing new kitchens, new baths, everything, because you want to get that number. And if you decide you want to do less, you can back off that number. You want to get that, if you can, the BPO. They usually won't give you this, but every once in a while you get an agent who will say, yeah, my BPO on this was $65,000 as is. Then you want to find out from them, is this a good area to fix and flip, or is this a rental area, or is it a combination of both? Because we dabble a lot of markets that are a combination of both. And ultimately, you do want to be in those markets as much as you can because you have more buyers, a much bigger buyer pool than we have if you're just looking for landlords or if you're just doing fix and flip. Just doing fix and flip markets are ones that you can't, obviously. So contact the agent. I can't emphasize enough. It is super important. You need to do that to get to really good levels of information, which will then lead you to the next step of bidding on a property.
Yeah. So, step 6 of our 7-step process here is bidding on properties. And, first off, if you haven't already done so, you got to register for the auction and make sure you're all set up. And then when you do make a bid, it's going to put a hold on your credit card as well. There's ways around that. When me and Paul bid on it, we are part of kind of like VIP lists with the auction houses, and that's waived for us. But when you're starting out, that's a thing to know about. Another thing is, when you're bidding, persistency is the name of the game. So you're not going to always win at that auction, especially if it's the first time on an auction of property. The reserve's not going to be met, and it's going to come back on auction again. And on each of the auction sites, there's easy ways to track stuff through all the different auctions. You just hit save or like a like button essentially on the property, and you'll be notified going forward when the auction comes back and on auction. That way you could bid again. And if your number's not met, they'll email and notify you depending what the reserve is. And again, it'll go back on auction again, and just keep being persistent and continue to bid on these properties, because sometimes we won auctions. I mean, Paul gave a video recently where he started bidding in a year and a half prior to winning the property. There's a different video we have on a property that we recently released. So you're not going to win everything on the first attempt at an auction, most likely. If you are, that's amazing.
Unless you got lucky and they mispriced it.
Exactly.
That's where you're going to get that.
So those are just some tips when you're bidding on properties, to be persistent and, make sure you're registered, and persistency is the name of the game, which then leads us to the next step, and our final step on how to buy houses at online auction is bid accepted, and congratulations, you bought a house.
Yeah, totally. And on this, just to piggyback on what Mike said real quick, on that one where I was bidding for 18 months, my offer price was getting less and less and less as this bidding process was going on, because it's sitting on the market. They're dropping their price. I'm dropping my offer too. And so my initial, if they would have accepted my initial offer on that, they would have made a hell of a lot more. I picked it up for 50. I was initially offering 75. So that was a big chunk of change they left on the table right there. And I'm selling that property for $42,000 net profit when all was said and done. Now, to get to once you get the bid accepted, this is when the real high level due diligence comes in. You're going to hopefully get boots on the ground, whether you use BPO Photo Flow or a company like that, or another agent to go out there and look at the property, hopefully get access inside, take pictures of all the systems, the kitchen, the bathroom, the windows, the doors, the roof, the foundation. You want to make sure there's no cracks in foundation or any kind of foundation issues. If there is, you can go back to them. Know that if you find things and get a contractor to write up a quote for you, you can a lot of times go back and get some of the price taken off. Sometimes, $5,000, $10,000, depending on the level of work that it needs. So you can go back there. You don't want to make a common habit of it. We only do it when we find something. But what happens is you send in the contract. Actually, let me get back here before I get to that. You send in the contract. You're going to usually do it via DocuSign, and then you're going to send in your security deposit. Usually $2,500 to $3,000 is the EMD on that. Then you're going to pick your title company, right? and you're going to send them. They're actually the one that's going to get the EMD. And then about 30 days later, generally, you're going to have closing. And sometimes it's 45 days. Sometimes it's a little bit quicker, depending on the auction house, how ready they are for it. But during this time period, make sure you're doing extra due diligence, get contractors, give you quotes. You find something, you can go back to them and maybe get 5 or 10K off the property. But it's not something that's going to happen very often. I think we have, 1 or 2 a year where that happens. So, but just know that it is near, and it is a way for you to get out of the EMD if you run into issues that you did not see. So that's it in a nutshell. We hope this video helped. If you got something good out of it, make sure you click on the like button, and definitely don't forget to subscribe. And we're going to have a lot more videos coming up. If there's anything else you guys want to hear about or us to talk about, let us know, and we'll try to create more videos on that.
Yeah. One thing I do want to add, we also created more of a web class. It's called reauctionacademy.com. So feel free to go there. It's a free web class, about an hour, hour and a half of content where we go deeper dive into everything we covered here on how to buy houses at auction. And then we also show, if you want to wholesale, how to sell those properties in any market across the US. So again, hope this video is helpful. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.